Hey there, rulers, DMO73 here, bringing you another feature match for the week. Today we have Ren and her Burn Elektra versus Josh on a Midrange Elektra. Who will have the better armaments? Let's go ahead and find out together.
This session brought to you by Odyssey Games for pre-orders and sealed product, CCG Prime for tons of singles and supplies, Cardo Doko for international rulers looking for products, and fowlibrary.com for articles and wonderful deck lists.
As well as our guest lecturer members King Pearlshine, Vite Ramen, Mognite, and Darren Noblock.
Class is in session.
So as we get started here, just a reminder that Odyssey Games does have pre-orders for Clash of the Star Trees available right now up on the website, both in boxes and pre-release kits. You can get those out in the description below, so make sure you get those. Just as a reminder, pre-release kits won't have the extension ruler in them, so boxes will, so maybe steer at least towards getting at least 1 or 2 boxes when you get your pre-order in. So here we have Ren and her kind of a more aggressive burn reach kind of style of Elektra versus Josh, who is playing our green-black or red-black splash green Elektra midrange, which is based off of Stephen Justwayne's list that he took to a top 8 finish at the last GP. So we did a couple little modifications to it, but overall this is the list. And so it's kind of cool to see which of the two random rulers here in terms of what they're going to start with, what armaments they're going to start with, which armaments they're going to get, and who's going to come out on top. So a true battle of who make use of what you get, which is a lot of fun. Elektra in general is a very fun ruler, and just kind of something to talk about here in terms of the way we're grabbing that first armament. So first off, these guys are doing it, these two are doing it a little bit incorrectly at the beginning. You are supposed to do mulligans before you grab your first armament, because technically it's as the game starts, which is after mulligans. So just keep that in mind. Interestingly enough, they both hit the battle flag to start the, so both of them getting that. The main reason why it's a little bit unfortunate that Elektra has to wait until after mulligans is because you can't really sculpt your hand based on what armament you get if you're following sequencing properly. So you see some card differences already in the fact that Ren is playing Inferno in her deck, as well as the Demon, and I do not believe our black, green, red version is playing the Demon. It's for not as much indirect damage there, but it is from playing a little bit better spot removal sources. And with that, we go into the first turn. Ren calling her first stone, making sure not to grab an armament. It needs to be a stone. What happens when you have people who aren't used to the layout of the playmat, which is okay. Hitting a Fire Moon Fragment, choosing to 4C there. Do we see a first turn armament acquisition? Yes, we have Ryzen. Ryzen's going to come out here and let us get a new armament. A couple things to note about the way armaments grabbing is supposed to get is it's supposed to be chosen at random. So Ren having Josh pick one is technically not correct in terms of how you're supposed to sequence it. The way Josh has been doing it is the correct way, where you should roll a die, the first one being a D8 with the 8 being a reroll, the second one being a D6 until you have 4 left, then roll a D4, and so on and so forth, because it has to be equal chance because it's random chance. Just something to make note of. But Ryzen getting to draw a card, getting Chain Sickle here. This is actually surprisingly relevant in the mirror because it does mean that the opponent's intels won't be able to gain Eternal, whereas yours will, which means the trades there can be very, very relevant. Josh, a little bit of again, grabbing the wrong thing. Goes to start to grab an armament here, and they actually go through the process of grabbing an armament before one of us here is nearby saying, "What are you doing? You didn't play a card." And so we'll sequence through to getting a stone instead of an armament, which is the correct thing to be doing. In the true sense of Elektra being random, these opening turns have been quite random. Goes to grab an Amulet Orb, and then they both realize, oh wait, I wasn't supposed to get an armament anyway. I was supposed to be calling a stone, not this sequence. Then at which point in time they talk over to me and say, "Hey Jeremy, is it okay if we kind of arrange the board the way we want it to rather than using your stuff?" And I go, "Yeah, that's fine. That's okay." So we're gonna shift back to keeping where stuff is supposed to be. This is the moment right here where Josh realizes he doesn't have a stone because he called an armament, not a stone. Which ironically would be a cool power for Elektra to have if she had the ability to just tap and get an armament. But that's not how she works. So putting it back. And getting our first stone for the turn. Some of the armaments certainly work much more functionally superiorly to others. Bow and arrow, long sword, battle flag, chain sickle. These are ones that are probably going to be in most lists, as well as rough magic stone. Amulet orb might not be in every single list, but it is certainly good. Headband is one that's kind of hard to imagine you were going to see. Yeah, and there's that arrangement of putting things where players are more comfortable with. Hitting a Black Source here is very nice for Josh, though, because Josh does have that Rain of Blades in hand. So Rain of Blades will be really helpful, especially with one armament. If Ren commits another Resonator to her board, we'll be able to pop both of them. If not, even if Ren taps out to put two more Resonators on the board, we can copy... if we had a way to get an armament here, we'd be able to kill all three, which would be nice. But even being able to kill two is really good for just one will. Especially because most of these decks are going to be using the clowns a lot. So one drop is going to be pretty easy to get to. Speaking of clowns, we do have an intel on the side of Josh, which is going to upgrade Battle Flag, which now all of his Resonators have +2/+2. So now we are at a 4/4 base, and we can tap to become a 10/10 with Bane. We can't get the Eternal, though, because of the Chain Sickle on Ren's side of the field. And then Ren has to discard a card because of Intel's Enter effect as well. Still have open the will to be able to play a Rain of Blades, but choosing to use Silencing Spell instead. This is a new edition that, or it's a very, very old edition that is added to a Resonator, and then you may pay 2 to make them play normal spells, but this counts for contracts. So this is actually really relevant against Elektra, because Elektra, wants to kind of curve out early and then be able to flip comfortably. But now it's hard to contract because our contract costs us 3. And so that creates a lot of early difficulties in terms of putting on pressure. That being said, Ren will still be able to play any Resonator she wants. So I imagine we might see a rush down of Rezos, but at that point in time, that walks into Josh playing that Rain of Blades and wiping the board that way too. Scorch Bale's coming down here. And go for another Ryzen. So we're getting a third armament here. Which one will she get? Again, should be a dice choice instead of a just manual pick. Does hit Longsword. This is pretty good. Now all of Ren's Resonators will have an additional 200 attack, and if she can get it upgraded, everything's going to have swiftness. So if she has a Intel in hand, that's very, very good, because we can immediately upgrade the Intel and then really just kind of start swinging in which point in time, Josh is going to be taking a lot of damage very quickly. Oh, and she does have the Ryzen in hand, or the Intel in hand, so that is probably going to come into play here. upgrade that longsword and really start going in, especially because of the pings from the battle flag as well. That is going to be a significant chunk of damage just from these resonators before Josh has the ability to remove them with his own rain of blades. That being said, we can at least use the intel to block one of them, which is helpful. But it will be at this point in time, because of the longsword giving an additional attack, it'd be a trade, which is a little less than optimal here. Swinging in for 2 because of the ping off of the battle flag, and then coming in for 400 damage. Down to 38, and then if the combat is successful, down to 34. Ooh, double rain of blades in hand. It'd certainly be helpful if we had one will available, but not there. Oh, in response to no blocks, we are going to try to pump up the intel to hit another 600 damage, so that would be down to 28. So just like that, swing it in for a cool 1,000 damage, or 1,200 damage off of just one resonator swing. Oh, I guess not before blocks. We are at least going to try to pump up so that they both have Bane, but I think Josh forgot that you can't gain Eternal because of the Chain Sickle, whereas Ren will be able to gain Eternal because Josh doesn't have a Chain Sickle. So we're just going to stop the damage, I guess, there. We're still going to take the 2. But then both of these other intels, or these Rysons, are going to be able to swing for a pretty aggressive amount of damage here. Remembering all of the effects that are present from all of the different armaments can certainly be tricky. So currently swinging in for 8 plus 2 is 10, going to ping for 2, so swinging in for 1,200 damage, essentially when combined with the battle flag ping, to take Josh down to 26 at that point. And then another 12 to take Josh down to 14, which is really, really gross. 26, and then another 12, down to 14. Then at that point in time, it pass. Ren saying, answer this board or die next turn, which makes a whole lot of sense. Now, if we can get another armament, we're in good shape to be able to answer this board. We can, play, if we have a Ryzen in hand, we can play it, use our other stone, and tap both of the contracts we get to pop all 3 of them. Although you probably want to leave up, you might not even want to pop all 3 of them, so it might be worth it just to play any 1-drop and then copy it, to leave the Ryzen that has the summoning addition on it, just to tax Ren, so that if Ren wants to try to go into contract, it will literally tap her out. Does look like they're talking through the fact that Josh is pretty sure he doesn't have anything to answer this, and Ren showing the armament upgrade next turn is going to come down and make everything even bigger. We also have Last Secret Sword. So just to walk things through, though, for the sake of the recording, we're going to see a Blade Shower come down here. After Calling Stone. 4C. That is another contract, which would be helpful if we had access to one more turn, but the pressure from Ren is a little bit too much here. Gonna do Blade Shower. We're gonna copy it. We're gonna pop both the one with the summoning circle and we're gonna pop both Rysons. That makes sense to minimize damage. Oh no, never mind. I think going for, it doesn't really matter because it'd be 12, all of them are 12 damage. So that doesn't really help here. We do have another intel to force Ren to discard a card, but unfortunately it's not going to do anything in terms of upgrading another armament, because we already have just the one upgraded, and at that point in time it's a pass. So a full tap out here from Ren to contract, paying the extra will to do upgrade armament to upgrade the chain sickle. Even more so, you could just upgrade the battle flag to pump stuff up, because the Ryzen's going to die as soon as this horror form comes into play. Horror form gets us a high armament, which pumps up Ryzen to be 1200 plus the burn from battle flag, and that goes down to 12. We push into game 2. Ren having a phenomenal early aggression hand there, hitting multiple Ryzens and intel to be able to, and hitting some pretty optimum armaments too. Really well done. Ren keeping multiple, looks like at least 2 Ryzens in that opening hand as well. Once again, we're going to see what these starting high armaments are. See a bow and arrow for Ren. And we see long sword for Josh. Hitting longsword first means we don't really mind the idea of starting with Ryzen or Intel, because we get upgraded and start immediately going in. Ren dropping down the first turn Ryzen, seeing the cloud. We see an amulet orb here. Amulet orb to make stuff uncancelable. Not like we were going to see much cancel out of an Elektra deck anyway, but it is still nice to have. At that point in time, we're probably going to see a pass. Going into Josh's turn. Josh may be seeing if there's something that he wants to do before recovery. Don't really know if there's much you'd want to do here, though. Oh, no, this is still at the end of Ren's turn. So, draw for turn. Call stone. Would love to see an Intel into a Ryzen here would be pretty nice. Or even just a Ryzen in general. To grab a second one to set up a blade shower for killing 3 things would also be excellent. Do see that Ryzen come down. Let's see which one we hit here. We got a chain sickle on that one too. So now Ren will be feeling the effects of not being able to give her Intel that Eternal. And at that point in time, we pass the turn. Looks like Josh may be thinking about doing something with the other will before recovery, but I think, or before passing turn, I do think that the best chance would be just playing just passing, especially if you have Blade Shower in hand, which it looks like he does. Ren calling her second stone. Magic Stone of the Purgatory. An oldie from Vingolf 3. Down comes the Intel here. Intel probably gonna upgrade. Oh, no. going to upgrade the Amulet Orb to gain 1,000 life and make it so none of her stuff could get canceled. I feel like I would have gone with the bow, but I feel like the bow has diminishing returns really quickly now that Josh already has some armaments out, so the 400 damage just isn't going to be really enough to kill anything at that point in time. Thinking about whether we want to move into combat, or if you can get another armament out, you're in pretty good shape. Then your Ryzen is bigger than Josh's Ryzen. Maybe hit something like your own, you know, Sickle and Chain. See another Ryzen here. This is kind of exactly the situation that Josh wanted Ren to walk into. Does see a battle flag, so this is pretty good, but ultimately all three of these resonators are probably going to get destroyed, especially if we bait out the tapping the high armament and somehow, although right now only the one Ryzen can attack. So I imagine we just see a Blade Shower forcing a destruction of all three. That would then force the Ryzen to get activated. Oh, guess not. Guess we're taking the damage. Guys, we go to the life totals here. So get pinged for 2. And then hit for 8. So we're down to 28. Paying coin. Flash in a Phantasmal Ascendant. So a little bit of a sequencing thing here. When Ren went to combat, Josh could have then flashed in the Phantasmal Ascendant, gotten this new stone, and then played the Blade Shower. It's a little bit risky though, because if the stone we hit, well, the stones I think in this deck are 100% darkness, so you would always have the will for Blade Shower. But then you at least dodge the damage from the ping and the swing. But I imagine we're going to see just Blade Shower happen maybe at end step here before the stone goes away, so we at least get... Oh no, we did just Phantasmal Ascendant at the end of turn to carry the stone through. That makes sense. If we have an upgrade for the longsword into a contract, this could be really, really good for Josh to kind of maybe even close out the game this turn. We'll see how much the aggression is. Going to try to do Blade Shower copied twice to pop all 3 of the clowns. Ren can't possibly give Eternal, so we get to kill the intel regardless. Now we have a clear board to try to go aggressive. And carrying 3 will to be able to make some stuff happen too. Everything getting that plus 200. Attack is pretty relevant. If we could get a fire form, a dragon form here, it would be pretty good, especially if we hit a bow. Off of the contract, because then we could swing a bunch of times because we have swiftness. We want to upgrade the longsword first. We need, if the hand is Ryzen upgrade contract, then Josh is in a really good spot to be able to close out the game this turn. There's the Ryzen. This is going to get us another contract here, so now we'll be up to 3, so all of these Ryzens will be having plus 800 attack, because we'll have 3 contracts, and then the plus 200 from the longsword. That is a bow. No, that's rapier. Not super relevant night now, because there's nothing on field. Oh, and we do have, looks like, an intel as well into contract. So this is going to be a very, very lethal turn for Josh here, because we'll be able to upgrade longsword and then contract, which will put us up to 4 plus a high armament. So we can grab the dragon armor, so that we'll be able to swing 5 times with a 400 attack resonator, plus all of these other things like 2,000 damage plus all the damage that's coming from everything else on board is more than enough for lethal. In comes contract. We see rough magic stone. Not super relevant here because we're pushing in for lethal, but it does have an untap mode, which is pretty nice. Hits. Dragon form. We're gonna go for dragon armor, or are we gonna go for lance? We might go for the lance. Yeah, we go for the devil spear. So now we're swinging for 12, 14 with swiftness. So it's damage-wise, it's a little bit less, but ultimately, it is, I believe, still lethal, because 14 plus each of the Risens is another 16, so 32. Yeah, this is enough for lethal at that point in time. So swinging in for 6. Take down to 44, plus another 32, plus another 14, and that's well more than enough to burn things out and finish things off with dragon form. And I think Ren's just gonna do the math, and then she's gonna scoop it up. I'm gonna push it into game 3. Just goes to show, if you see the clowns, Elektra can put a lot of pressure on very, very quickly. Upgrading Ryzen so it hits for a little bit harder. And then at that point in time, just dragon swings in for lethal. And like I said, we go to game 3 to see who can find the right armaments and close out some games. Kind of interesting that we saw both forms of Elektra so far being used, both horror form for lethal on that turn, as well as dragon form for lethal, longsword upgraded, putting in some serious work to help close out these games. Ren choosing to take the coin. So we'll see which armament she starts with here. Have you noticed games 2 and day 3, we've done the correct sequencing of mulligans, then contract, or then grabbing the armament. Bow and arrow for Josh. Which armament are we getting for Ren? Hitting an amulet orb. So not the strongest start in this particular matchup, as we all saw the extra 1,000 life gain didn't really help too much. And neither deck is really playing cancels. I believe the only cancel that the mid-range deck is playing is specifically Lorites, which Amulet Orb doesn't stop stuff trying to stop abilities. It just stops spells. Just a Callstone Pass from Josh, which is a little bit unfortunate, but does set us up for maybe if Ren overcommits here and puts too many Resonators on board, we could do Blade Shower and kind of clear the way right out the gate. Especially if the line is exactly Ryzen into Intel. This is a really good punish for that is the Brain of Blades, because you can respond to the upgrade trigger from Ryzen or from Intel to then kill both of them because before you get an upgraded armament to be able to protect with. Hitting Headband here is really unfortunate. I'm honestly surprised to see that in the list. Probably one of the most situational armaments. Because of how damage works in FOW specifically. Ending the turn, we see a Phantasmal Ascendant get to come in. At that point in time, we're going to see a draw for turn, using Bow to ping Ren for 200, down to 38. Now, because we have the bow, we might see Horror Form Dragon Form go for the armor to attack multiple times, so then we can like keep recovering. I also really like the attack armor too, because it lets us attack a bunch and then call stone, which is really nice, so we can continue to generate value. Overall, I think between the two red ones, the one I grabbed first is Dragon Armor as opposed to Divine or Devil Spear, but that's I think a personal preference. Josh thinking if he wants to do anything before recovery. Ultimately, it looks like just choosing to pass the turn. We do see another Ryzen, another Intel, maybe a contract in that hand for Josh. Oh, and before recovery, we're going to go ahead and do a Blade Shower here. This to me feels a little unnecessary, but it does at least get the Intel out of the way. I'm not sure what real advantage there is other than just not wasting the will at that point in time, but because you want to copy Blade Shower, using it before recovery when there's only one target doesn't feel as good. It feels like missed potential. Probably going to go Ryzen into Intel this turn, especially if we see a longsword off of the Ryzen. That being said, Ren's at a good spot to be able to do exactly what happened to her back. So if Josh overextends, we might see a Blade Shower with two armaments to copy and blow a couple of things out. Hitting the Chain Sickle. From there, we see, I guess we have to, using both of the red sources. We go for a armament refinement to get another armament here. Set ourselves up to be able to contract. Dragon Form coming in here. We're hitting number 5. We got good old Rapier. Rapier is also very nice here with bow and arrow because we can control what's able to attack. So this is a nice little combination. Sets ourselves up for next turn, being able to get pretty aggressive and get the keep the blockers out of the way, which is really nice for when we swing in with this Dragon Form. Enter effect on the chase of Dragon Form. Does go try to get Dragon Armor. So this next turn, Dragon Form will be able to swing 4 times and then call Stone. Now sure, it's only for 200 damage, but each of those swings is going to be able to tap the bow and then recover it, and then tap it, and then recover it, and then tap it. So it's going to get that extra damage pretty quickly. We do see an end of turn attack order. This is a little bit of a missed sequence moment, mainly because Josh hasn't successfully put back the stone as of yet from the Phantasmal Ascendant. So that's just going to go ahead and get used to bring out Garion to cancel the attack order and keep the dragon form safe. And then the stone will go away because Phantasmal Ascendant makes it go away. Rin looking at her hand here. Can get to us. Oh, we are going to see a swing in from the Phantasmal and just to take some chip damage there. Go down to 36. Or apologies, 34. And the stone's going to go away. So a little bit of a missequencing there. Ren could have just waited until her turn after the stone went away from Phantasmal Ascendant and then before recovery used attack order, which would have been a lot better. Just a learning moment there. There was no reason, because the dragon wasn't going to have swiftness, it wasn't going to be able to attack. So at that point in time, you just, accept that it's going to be around until the end of that turn and then kill it the next turn, start of the next one. And then you just move on. And Ren would have been staring down significantly less pressure that she has to deal with. Do see our own Ryzen hit a chain sickle. So now neither side can get Eternal or Barrier. Now we do, because we hit Chain Sickle here, there's an interesting point of just burning the contract to upgrade Chain Sickle to kill Dragon Form. We won't get any advantage out of it because we don't have 2 upgraded armaments, but it does get the Dragon Form off the board, which is particularly scary because, again, we've got bow and we'll be able to swing 4 times. We do have the Carmilla at a will, though, which is a little unfortunate. Just like 1 will short from being able to really make a difference here. If we had 2, then we could honestly clear this board in a way that's pretty cool. We would be able to upgrade the Amulet Orb, gain 1,000, play the contract upgrade, Chain Sickle, that flips us into Horror Form. Horror Form gets us probably the sword, and then we are applying a -8 to the board. And clears a bunch of that stuff off, and then we can just remove, pay some life that we gained off of Amulet Orb to kill the Horror Form or the Dragon Form, and really just kind of like, get some pretty good stuff there. We do see Contract here. Starts to go for the upgrade, does decide to go instead to Armament Refinement to get her own contract out here. Maybe see if we got hitting a different contract here, hitting Battle Flag, which isn't bad, but unfortunately doesn't really help solve the problem here. She will be under a Dragon Form, which can get us probably at this point have to grab Divine Spear. The problem, once again, even with Divine Spear, becomes the fact that we have Rapier plus Bow. So before recovery, the Bow is going to be able to just ping Dragon Form on Ren's side of the field, so she can't block with it. At which point in time, Josh is pretty free to recover and just gotta go in. This also taps Ren out, which puts her at a pretty significant potential opening for being run over by this 4 attacks that come from the Dragon Form on Josh's side of the board. So at this point in time, fully tapped out, can't afford to swing because it wouldn't be lethal, and it would just leave one less thing for Josh to be able to have to worry about. So Josh is gonna draw for turn. Oof, does see like we get another contract or another. I already have another dragon contract in hand as well as an intel. So even better, we can just use intel to upgrade the bow, and then be able to ping 4 every single time we swing. So now dragon is swinging for 6 every single time and doing some pretty serious work there. Choosing to ping. Don't see any of the potential action cards. Oh, just choosing to go face. Looks like instead of pinging one of the targets to make it not be able to block because of rapier. Move to recovery. Might be that it doesn't really matter. Oh, there's a blade shower. That'll do it. Don't need to copy it 3 times, just need to copy it twice. There is something to be said about if Ren had extra will, you copy it multiple times, so that, because each copy is an individual spell, so it forces Ren to have more responses and burn through more resources. You just target, multiple times. But ultimately, the 1 blade shower copied will kill both the dragon form and the Ryzen. At that point in time, we can play our own intel to upgrade the bow, so it's dealing 400 damage per ping. And then, swing, ping 4, swing 2, recover, swing 4, ping 2, recover, swing 4, ping 2, recover, swing 4, ping 2, recover, and then, Phantasmal Ascendant and Ryzen at that point in time do the job. Being at 32, we get 4 swings with Dragon, each dinging for 600 damage because of the bow. So that'll be 24, and then Ryzen is another 10, so 3,400 damage, which will be enough for the lethal. So it's just a matter of going in here and walking through the damage, but that is going to be the game. So it turns out, Chain Sickle and Bow really seems to be doing the trick here. Sequencing being a big part of how this mirror works. And also, Blade Shower putting in some serious work for both sides to kind of close things out. So big thanks to both of these players for recording this match with us and allowing us to put them on camera to show off Elektra, a couple different takes of her. Deck profiles for both of these lists will be up later this week, so you all will be able to check it out, although we're curious to see how you've been playing Elektra, so let us know in the comment section below. And until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.